Another stunning weekend of Super Rugby Pacific, man. I tell you, I can't remember a better season to get a start. It's been going great.
Kia ora, I'm Sharon Brett Kelly. Today on The Detail, Super Rugby Pacific. It was called a bore fest, predictable. Attendances were in the doldrums. So what just happened?
Who kicks it into touch, and a famous victory here at Christchurch. For the first time ever, Moana Pacifica have beaten the Crusaders 45 points to 29.
Did they just cause the biggest upset of the season?
It has to be, I think. Yeah. Maybe ever in Super Rugby. It was a brilliant watch.
And that could be, if you talk about a turning point in an organisation, that could be it for Moana Pacifica.
Plus, a new top-of-the-table team, and no, it's not a Kiwi side.
And the Reds go to the top of the table. The Queensland Reds have beaten the Western Force 28-24 in another thriller.
And the team that fills the stadium.
7 wins on the trot at this venue for the Drua.
And has world-beating viewer numbers.
Some incredible viewership numbers for the Fijian and Drua. They reckon at least half of that country is watching the games every weekend.
Today, how Pacific Rugby is injecting some much-needed oomph into the competition. We'll go to Suva to find out what it's doing for the nation. But RNZ's Nathan Rarere first on that terrific win by Moana Pacifica and his pick for the championship.
Moana Pacifica probably just really weren't contenders at all in the first couple of years. Just not enough players in their base to get there. And they sort of existed at Mount Smart, and I don't know, you'd watch sometimes and think, oh, it's a little bit sad and it's not happening. But this year,
Ardie Savea
matters. It matters because you finally got some belief. You're like, it's not just that we've got this champion in our team. It's like, he chose to come to us. He wants to play for us. And when you've got that in your team, just the belief in the supporters.
And that's interesting because that's what he talks about too, right. The belief.
It's just letting the boys realise how talented they are and the belief to believe in themselves. And you're starting to see that at the moment with the guys actually believing that we can do special things, and we've got awesome players in our team. It's just about bringing that out.
When you've got Ardie that's come along, they've got another really important position that they've got right as well. So the first five with Pellegrini, who's come along, who's playing first five for them. So he played a lot of rugby in England. He's Tonga's first five as well. And that's the position that really decides on the paddock where you play. And they're really the ones driving it. And his position in the team has been superb because they've finally got someone like him who can kick them out of trouble. And also as well, they've unearthed some really good talent as too, which is coming through. I think perhaps they would hope for a few more for the islands for Moana Pacifica. But I mean, Miracle Whailangi, who's playing on the blind side, very much Samoan, born, raised, educated, trained. He's been magnificent. Like, he's been Ardie's equal as far as an influential player goes. So that's awesome for them, and that's Moana Pacifica. But Fiji, that's different again.
They've become the people's team, and the whole nation's just gotten behind them. When they win, everyone's really happy. When they lose, everyone's down for the whole week.
Former rugby professional Randall Kamea owns and edits Fiji's oldest rugby magazine, Te Vovo.
I think it's probably what Super Rugby was in the 90s and early 2000s in New Zealand. We've never had a professional sporting team. We've never had a professional rugby team. Even our 7s and 15s teams have never been professional. So, yeah, it's really exciting for fans. It's something to do. We don't have much in the way of entertainment on the island. And for aspiring rugby players, it's a pathway for them, and one that's very achievable because they get to see it every week. Drua recently reported that they generate around $10 million per home game, and that's economic impact, not just the rugby.
10 million, that's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's one of the highest, if not the highest. I know they lead all Super Rugby franchises in merchandise sales by 2 times.
Where is that money going to? So tickets, merchandise, what, food?
Hotels, there's flights. I've seen a lot of people fly in, one to support their team that's coming to play here, but also just to get the Drua experience. And it provides a lot of extra jobs as well in the communities for people in the hospitality industries and that.
What is it about Fiji and Drua, the team, the side, that sets them apart from, I guess, New Zealand teams?
In many ways, Fiji and Drua has taken over from Fiji Sevens. Fiji Sevens was the nation's pride and joy. We got public holidays when they won the gold medal at the Rio Olympics. And since the Fiji and Drua have come along, they've completely taken over that role. They've become the people's team, and the whole nation's just gotten behind them. When they win, everyone's really happy. When they lose, everyone's down for the whole week. Their last game against the Brumbies, we got 40 points put on the Drua, and it was like a nationwide funeral for a few days.
Is that right?
Yeah, rugby here is exactly like football in Brazil. I think the style of play and the passion that people have for the team.
Should Pacifica rugby teams, and I'm thinking, Fiji and Drua, should it have been part of the Super Rugby competition much sooner?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've always wanted it much sooner. Whether or not we were ready for it to happen back then, I'm not too sure. I think now has been a good time. It may not have worked out, and if it didn't, then it would have been probably lost forever.
That is it. A victory to the Fiji and Drua over the top of the table Chiefs.
I mean, Fijians have been known for a long time to be incredibly dynamic and brave attacking players. So they will do the entry, there's always do the sensible play. Theirs is often, but if I try and run through that gap, how awesome would that be? So they will do things that other players won't try. And what's good now is that, because a lot of them used to be like police officers or, people that were in the military, they're professional athletes now. And also I think there's something about the fact that for the Indurua, when they're playing there up in Lautoka, they just look unbeatable, because finally for them, they've got the weather on their side. And I'll take it back to this, for New Zealanders to relate to it, the first time that New Zealand got a test cricket win over England was giant. Like, why? Because we're not that little thing anymore. We're not that little country down the other side of the world. We're competing with you, and we can beat you at things. And for Fiji, there's still quite a bit of that too. They've got giants. Like, they have gold medalists when the Sevens won. They got a $7 note with them on it, right? Because it's giant. It's a sense of pride. And there's that fact of not just for tourists coming to sit on our beaches, we've got a thing that we matter in. And you know what? We're really good at it. And when we show up at World Cups with our 15 teams, all these big nations that don't pay attention to us politically, they have to pay attention to us out there, or we will beat them and we will embarrass them with our guys that we've just got from here. And that is just a sort of a fan base capturing thing that is lightning in a bottle. It's a very, very hard thing, to capture.
So this must be great for the competition, because reading up on things and just from what you hear, people have been complaining that it's been really boring.
A lot of people in New Zealand are finding it boring. A number of people who switched off or didn't bother to watch at the weekend. The crowds are terrible at the stadiums by and large.
The Super Rugby, do you watch much of it? I saw that, God bless Sky, but they did this beautiful, I'm assuming it's a drone shot on Friday night.
Grey seats.
Oh, I mean, are you serious? It's like, what's the point of a drone shot if you're showing an empty stadium with 30 people running around the centre of the field?
One commentator I was reading about called it a bore fest.
Because it was always the same. There was a great thing I saw once. It was one of the heavyweight boxers of the world. He said, people don't love a champion, they love a new champion. I think too, it's been really good because actually the game itself, they made a couple of slight rule changes, and it's now more in your interest to run with the ball attacking than it is to kick.
Why is that? What are the law changes? Or is it too technical?
It's a very little subtle rule, but basically it's this. At a ruck, you're allowed to compete for the ball constantly unless you're lying on the ground, right? You've got to be on your feet. So there's the halfback at the back of the ruck, and that was always Aaron Smith or someone like that, and they would get this bit where they're going, oh, hang on, I'm going to kick it over the top now. So you organise two giants to just stand in the way, and then you can go, right, here I go, and kick it over. Well, the rule was, World Rugby said, okay, you can't have those giants in the way anymore. And the halfbacks did their thing where they went, right, I'm going to do a kick, here I go. And they went to do it. And next thing they know, they're being tackled with the ball. So that slow, deliberate kick at the back of the ruck is it used to be used constantly. Now it's not used very much at all because it's within your interest to get it away from there and get running. It's taken away those up and under kicks because I know that World Rugby watched their last World Cup final. They had huge viewing figures for that and they hated what they saw. They were like, that game is boring. There were massive stoppages. They stopped to look at the video replays constantly. Now you get Super Rugby where they're just like, yep, hurried up, let's go. And if a player goes down and does oh, my leg, because really they're just getting a drink, they'll go, are you involved in the next play? You're not? Right, carry on. Off they go. And all of a sudden, people are getting better really fast.
Are you saying that the players and the teams are actually better than they have been?
For the Australian teams, definitely.
Well, yeah, and we should talk about the Australians because the Reds are top of the table.
I know. And this is what happened because they tried to expand too much and they had a team in Melbourne and it was just never going to work because that's the AFL town, right? So that wrapped up last year. Those players went back in and they were absorbed by the other teams. So now you're finding the teams that we haven't seen succeeding are succeeding and they're not just fluking it like that. Hiding that Moana Pacifica gave to the Crusaders, and that was a Crusaders side full of All Blacks and talent. That would just been unthinkable a couple of years ago.
What does this mean for the New Zealand teams, though?
What it means for them is they have to try harder, which is good. But also there's that part too where there was the feeling of, well, are we underprepared? Because, unfortunately Australia were in such a doldrums there that there was no point. Like, we would play them on the weekend and you felt guilty about watching. It's not fun watching your teams just beat them up constantly and a bit, okay, this is a bit dumb. But now they've actually had to raise that level in, so it's probably best for all of us. I mean, a couple of years ago, Australia hosting a Lions tour this year, you thought the Lions are going to win every test 200-0. Now, I don't know.
So, great for the game, great for the fans.
Yes.
And must be quite good also for the finances.
Well, I'd hope so. I know they're coming up to a broadcasting deal not far away, so this is ideal timing for you to all of a sudden have these teams, because you're going to market with it, teams that you can bargain with and go, yeah, a couple of years ago you might have thought, nah, no one wants that. Well, now people do, so...
Meanwhile, despite their success and their following in Fiji, Drua are yet to win an away game in their 3 years in Super Rugby. Here's Randall Kamia again.
Essentially, we're taking players that have had zero exposure to high performance or any form of professional rugby or a professional setup. They're all mostly local based. So that transition into a professional team can be pretty hard. A lot of the boys are coming straight out of villages.
So have they needed a bit of preparation? Because there is a lot of international travel, even though it's just to New Zealand and Australia, but still.
Yeah, they've got an academy going now, which will be great for the future. But I think we're seeing we still haven't won an away game since Drua entered Super Rugby competition. So that's something they're still struggling with, travelling and being in another country and preparing while on the road.
What about the women? How is the women's game going?
The women have been a real success story. I think their first 2 years, they won the title back-to-back. They've always made playoffs. It's been a huge boost to the women's game here on the ground. They're getting paid. They're in high-performance setups. So a lot of young girls in schools are really starting to see rugby as a sport that they can take up. And, Fiji is still quite a traditional country. So traditional parents are also starting to open up and allow their daughters to go into rugby.
It can be life-changing for some, I guess, being part of this international competition.
Yeah, that's some of the players are going straight out of villages into the Drua. And so for them, it's not just a rugby career. It's a means of completely changing your life and your family's lives and the lives of people in your village. Bit more than just a game.
What do you think is the next step? I mean, when you look at the facilities in Suva and Lautoka, the level is not at the level of New Zealand and Australians. So does that area need more investment?
Yeah, infrastructure is definitely something that needs to be improved. It would be good to have an international standard rugby stadium here for Fiji Rugby to host better internationals, and for the Ndrua play a stadium they can call their own. It would have to be either in Lautoka or Nandi, mainly because that's where all the hotels and the international airport is. So it's logistically a lot better for any travelling teams.
Now, Nathan has a pick for Moana Pacifica that could really shake up the competition.
For Moana Pacifica, there's a lot of talk of Richie Mo'unga coming back from Japan, Crusaders guy. I think it'd be cooler if he came back and played for Moana Pacifica.
That's your call out too.
I would love that, because there's a bit there where it's what it means to them. Like, I know you could see it with Ardie, but this thing was, you get the players that go, well, I'll represent Tonga to represent my dad who came out here. I mean, I was born in Blenheim and I did this, but, this is me. And you'll get a few of those that'll do it with Samoa as well. Now, he's already so deep in, he can't really represent Samoa unless he has a big, long stand down. So I think for him, this is what he's doing here by playing for Moana Pacifica, and that's why they've got a bit more. And the nice thing is as well is they've got Tom Savage, the Englishman there, who's playing at lock, and he's having a great time. And I think they call him Tomasi Safici is his name in the team, and they did things. They take him out to the South Auckland market with them and that thing, and he's sort of embraced his way in too. So,
but does he have? He has some heritage.
No, they needed a couple of tall guys, so they got him in there to play. So that's come through, and he's because it is professional teams, you can get guys around that they've managed to pull him in from.
They don't have to be Pacifica.
No, not entirely. And I think that was that case of we just don't have anyone now that we could play there, so we'll bring someone in to play and cover that as well. But it's what you want from the players that come in. Do they buy into being here? Like, are they actually dead keen on being in? And he is absolutely dead keen on being a part of it. And I don't think you can fake that. The players that you're playing against are just too big and strong and physical now for you to only be doing this half-hearted. So you've got to really be into it as well. But I think it's lovely him there in the way they've taken him on. They're like, yeah, let's go.
What's got me pumped about this is that people who ordinarily wouldn't be watching Super Rugby Pacific at this time of the year, casual rugby fans who will generally wait till the Wallabies hit the track, are now starting to come back. And not just as a trickle, it's becoming a bit of a flood on the way through. There's a bit of gushing going on down the road in terms of interest around it, and I am here for it, as the kids say.
Do you think that this could be the turnaround for Super Rugby? It's been in the doldrums for a while. There have been a lot of complaints that it's boring. In fact, I read another commentary on it, the need for drafts, transfers, salary caps, whatever it's going to take to get this competition going. So is that starting to happen?
They've got that this year without that happening. And I think perhaps it was the case. This is all just me, it's all my theories.
Yeah.
I think that they just had too many teams in Australia. I think that there has been a change at the top of Super Rugby, and it was very, very, very good. So the new guy that has come in, he's very big on, why don't you have a fantasy sports game? Every proper league around the world has a fantasy sports game. And fantasy sports came from baseball. They had them in NFL football, basketball or whatever. And it's just this game that you play. There's no money involved, just a game you play, and you choose players, and you make up a little team and they get points for doing rugby things. It's just a silly thing that happens on your phone. But I'm finding, my father-in-law's having his first go at it. He's in his 70s and he's quite keen on this as well. And I think what this Super Rugby is doing at the moment is that people that perhaps were fans that had lapsed, who've popped back in, have found themselves watching games going, hey, this is really good. Like, my best friend said he ended up watching a bit of a Western Force versus a Queensland Reds game, and he went, I was like, really? And he went, I know, but man, it was good. It was really good. And that's a real proof of the pudding's in the tasting kind of thing, when you've got people doing that going, do you know what? it looks really fun now. They've changed it. What are they doing? They just look so much better. Slight rule change and more competitive teams.
As for the clash between the two Pacifica teams, we'll have to wait till later this month. But Nathan says it'll definitely be the one to watch.
Absolutely. Because again, that's the bit you want of the massive fan bases getting to, and the two which are the most fun. Like when you watch the games out of Lautoka, I don't know what happens, but there's screaming when people are running with the ball, and there's always, I don't know who it is in that stadium, someone finds their way near the microphone, the screaming, the dancing, and there's something exuberant about it as well. And then of course the other great thing of when you watch rugby in the islands, they'll watch their own player get wiped out in a huge tackle, and everyone goes, whoa! And then they all laugh. Because they're like, whoa, imagine getting hit by that. It wasn't me, thank goodness. They'll get into that as well. So there is very much just a different feel, and there's a different joy. And it's so nice seeing the Moana Pacifica fans finally getting there, but where they're like, yeah, now we've got a competitive team too. A cool thing they did was they played, there's an old uniform, it's red, white and blue, and there was a team in the early 2000s and they were called the Islanders, and they played a couple of sort of exhibition games, and that's where Sitiveni Sivivatu and Sione Luaki and other All Blacks came out of eventually in the red, white and blue. They ran out onto the field, Moana Pacifica, with that uniform on the other week in the Heritage Round, and I just had friends going, I want one of those. I want one of those. There was a kid in the stadium in Dunedin last week who had body painted himself in the red, white and blue Moana Pacifica uniform. And it's like, these are the sorts of opportunities. It's like fans, the customer is always right. They're showing you what they want. They're showing you this and they're doing it. So hopefully they can grab it and really capture this.
What's your pick for who's going to win the whole tournament, the whole competition?
But this is great because I don't know. Normally I go with Crusaders. I really don't know right now. Queensland look really good. The Chiefs look fantastic as well. The Chiefs? Can I go Chiefs? I'll go Chiefs.
Okay, go Chiefs.
I'll go Chiefs because you want an answer.
Okay, I'll come back to you on that. That's it for today. The Detail is a newsroom production supported by RNZ and NZ On Air. Thanks to Nathan Rarere and Randall Carmere. This podcast was produced by Gwen McClure and engineered by William Saunders. I'm Sharon Brett Kelly. Mā te wā.